this one. Live each and every day, love and live your way. Do your very best, learn and lead today. Be the best you can, it's your life. Take a stand, so live your best life. Live your best life. Come on and live your best life with Dr. Julia Royston. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another special edition of Live Your Best Life. I am Dr. Julia Royston, super duper over the top excited to be with two of my favorite people. Now, this week has been Educational Summit 2020. Educational Summit 2020 brought to you by BK Royston Publishing and Live Your Best Life, my podcast and broadcast, heard every Sunday morning. The first edition is at 9:30 a.m. right here on Facebook Live. And at 10 a.m., we go to envision-radio.com. So I am super excited. I am Julia Royston, owner and operator of BK Royston Publishing, Royal Media and Publishing, and the author community, the Book Business Bosses, helping you get your message to the masses, turn your words into wealth, be a book business boss, and write that book now. And if you're interested in writing that book, just as a commercial, go to talkwithroyston.com to schedule an appointment on my calendar, talkwithroyston.com. So we're in day number 3 of Educational Summit 2020. I am on with two of my favorite people. Everybody's my favorite person, but anyway, two of my favorites. And I want them to introduce themselves, tell us what they do, tell us how they can find us on social media. If you have a website, give me that. But otherwise, tell us where you can find, where people can follow you on social media. Just as another commercial, when I'm bringing you these experts and these educators all week long, I want you to be able to connect with them, follow them, be informed by what they do, as well as request them to be guests, to be interviewed. We're in the live virtual digital space right now. We hope to go back into in-person. That's my favorite mode of communication. But until then, we're in the digital space. So a beautiful thing while we're in the digital space is that we have the opportunity to be meeting and communicating, getting information from, asking questions of people literally around the world. So I want you to make sure that you take advantage of these opportunities. Please share the broadcast, tag teachers, tag administrators, tag parents, tag people that you know are business leaders, community leaders that can benefit from the information that we have here. Learning is going to be wonderful this year, but it's going to look different. It's going to feel different. Monday, we talked to Dr. Wakandia West about the ACT and standardized testing. Tuesday, we had our other administrators, the Williams and Dr. Nettles was on, talking about on the district and the administrative level, how the administrators are handling it. Now, we're still on the admin level to this evening, and I have two wonderful people who are going to introduce themselves, tell us all what they do. So we're going to start with Ms. LaTascha Craig. Introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and how people can find you on social media.
Well, all right. Good evening. My name is LaTascha Craig. I am employed as a Family Resource Center coordinator here in Louisville, Kentucky, in the Jefferson County Public School District. And what a Family Resource Center coordinator does is likened to exactly what a social worker would do. And that is what my background is in social work. I'm also the proud mother of 2 children, Josiah and Sarah. Love them dearly. That's my favorite job. And I am also an owner, sole proprietor of an agency that is a personal investment agency in our greatest resource, which would be our family. And it is specific. There are specific services that come out of that, but it's called Imagine Me, and it's very dear to my heart because it has helped me through a lot. And so I'm just grateful to be here, thankful. I'm employed at the elementary school level, but I serve from K through 12 as well, just because we have to deal with families. And so those children are at different levels. So I'm just grateful to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Be sure to find Miss LaTascha Craig right here on Facebook. So
Surely did not follow directions,
I
right?
know, yo, you fine.
LaTascha Craig on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. But if you really need me, you probably want to email me at imaginemerising, RISING, @gmail.com.
Awesome. Imagine me rising at gmail.com. Be sure to write that down and take a note. I'll remind you if you come later on in the broadcast exactly where to email her and connect with her. I'm super excited about her new adventure, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Next, I also have Miss Sakia Dixon. Introduce yourself, love.
Sure will. Hello, everybody. I am Sakia Dixon. I am a social worker in Montgomery Public Schools in Montgomery, Alabama. I've been doing this job for about 13 years. I've had the opportunity to work at the Department of Human Resources as well as the school system in Mobile, Alabama. So my love is children. I love being around children and making sure they get all that they need. The primary responsibility of my job is broad. It's basically removing any barriers that prevent educational success. So when you say, Sakia, what's that? Julia, that's everything. That's the home, that's education, that's behavior problems, that's mental health problems, the whole gamut. But I absolutely love what I do. And as LaTascha shared, I'm also a mom, and I love how you said that's my favorite job. That is mine too, and the one I'm learning every single day because
Yes.
I have a teenager. So I'm learning how to do that job better every day. I also sell paparazzi jewelry, so I do quite a few things. I'm so excited, Julia, that you have me on here, and I'm so excited to meet LaTascha because social workers, especially in the school system, we don't get a chance to talk too often. And I know that we have some of the same struggles as well, obstacles to being accomplishments. So I think it'll be great for us to have that discussion. As it relates to how to get in touch with me, on Facebook, I'm Sakia Gable Dixon. And I'm like Tasha, if you really want to get me, this is my email. It is DixonDiaries2020@gmail.com. Dixon Diaries 2020@gmail.com. And that's me.
I love it. Okay, so one of the things that Kia did not mention that she mentioned earlier, that she's over 13 schools. Okay, so how does that work? Let's start there. Let's start with the kind of the responsibility caseload for that, how that works.
Okay, so basically with it being 13 schools, there is between elementary, middle, high, as well as the alternative schools. So I'm kind of spread thin. And with that being the case, referrals are made mostly from administrators, some counselors, of course, nurses, and then parents can self-refer. What I have noticed, Julia, and they laugh at me, you all hear me say my babies. I don't have students. Everybody has students and scholars. I have babies. I just give a whole lot of love no matter what age.
Yes.
I think that's what's important and that's what's needed. So I let all the top-notch educational people use all of those. My babies range from 5 until 18, 21 maybe. What I can tell you about this position, I do a lot of case management. I'm helping them navigate life, navigate the school system. You know, the school is a whole different world of its own. I serve as a liaison, helping parents communicate. I sit on meetings as it relates to a child's IEP or any kind of services they may need for school, help with behavior modification. I mean, Julia, name it. It's kind of like one of my supervisors used to say, where's my winged girls? The social workers were the winged girls.
Wow.
We know a little bit to be dangerous, and we know if we don't know, we know how to get it. So that's usually where I operate. And when you say caseload, let me give you this example. Last year, my caseload was 175 families.
Mm.
So people hear 175, they go, oh, that's manageable. I have 175 students. Did you hear me say families?
Right.
So I get mom, dad, brother, sister, and then if I'm fortunate, auntie, uncle, and everybody else. So it can be daunting at times, but and I have come to the realization, I'm sure Tasha can say it too, you know, you help who you can, you guide, and then you learn that, you know, we just got to keep moving, you know. So that's kind of how I manage with that large of a caseload.
Now that was the first thing that I had to learn about elementary. Is it was overwhelming for me because first off, I don't have any biological children. I mean, I've helped raise many, but I don't have any biological children of my own. So seeing all the needs, just, you know, being an itinerant teacher. So therefore you teach all kids. All right. So for all 500, whatever we got in the building, I'm going to see every single solitary one. Well, that's overwhelming for somebody who's, you know, not used to children on that level, to see that level of need at all the time. And so it was something that I really had to rely on the veteran teachers to really even help me with. So like, you know, how do you walk out and not carry that mess home with you? Tasha, help me. How do you do that as a not even just a teacher? Let's just talk about work and life, period. If you're an educator on any level, there are so many things. And I think sometimes parents are concerned, you all are concerned about the children you all have, but what if you were in contact with 175 families or 500 students, or, you know, or massive amounts? What are the, you know, the one or two, because, you know, we need for people to reach out to you and have consulting services with you. But what are the one or two coping mechanisms that over the years, because you're a veteran educator and social worker, counselor, and family resource coordinator, you're a veteran at this. You've been doing it more than 6 months, more than 2 years. Yeah. You know, when after that first 2-3 years, you got to be in the trenches. So what do you do? How does that work? How does that play out? How does that, what are your coping mechanisms for that?
Okay, so I will tell you, and I have to be transparent. I don't know any other way to be, but one of the things that I have worked on consistently as a social worker, you never get done with working on your boundaries. Mainly because individuals who are drawn to the field of social work, number one, come because they are givers. And you have to understand the dynamics of give and take. So as much as you want to give, people want to receive, and they'll continue to take. So you have to have your boundaries. And that's something that I struggled with big time because I am a giver and big heart and so forth. But you do have to set your boundaries. And one of my things in doing so that I have found useful to me is a relationship with the individuals. That's the big thing in social work. It's also a big thing in education, period, and teaching. You are never going to be able to get anywhere with a family or a student or our babies, you know, if you don't have a relationship with them. That's the first thing, because number one, children can tell whether you are invested in them or not. And they will let you know that they know you're not invested in them. And so if you want to get the best out of them, then you do that through relationship. And so it's just taking the time to get to know your students and their families. A lot of times I found that because my background is all social work, there was a time when I thought that going into the classroom was something that I wanted to do. But when I tell you that I was created specifically to be a social worker, that's exactly what I mean. So I've done child protective services. I've done adult protective services. I've supervised in that area. I'm a licensed therapist. And now I'm at the public education system, which is a whole other beast. You know, in CPS, I would say, I say that now, I would see where the problem, how the result happens. At this point, though, I believe that at school, I'm seeing how it begins. And so it's just one of those things that if you don't have boundaries, you know, if you don't have a relationship with people, you know, those are my coping mechanisms. So, and also just to shut it off, you know, it is difficult to leave and to not take things with you, but you just have to do that, you know, and I've had to learn that because it, you know, it takes a toll on your own health. So I just, you know, there's nothing easy about it at all because my elementary school is a 600 student elementary school. And so I don't have 600 students, I have 600 families.
Yeah.
So that isn't just mom and dad, that's grandma, grandpa, extended family members, all of those individuals. So just my coping mechanism has been to have a relationship and be able to communicate with them, to let them know transparently that time is not now.
Yeah. Yeah. I thoroughly understand that. And setting those boundaries is just really key and hard. You know, I truthfully have to say this is very, very, very hard to set those boundaries, especially when you want them to be all that they can be and you want them to be their best self. I mean, you know, my show is live your best life, but it has to be yours. You have to take the ownership of it. I can't do it. You know, I can lead, you know, the old saying is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So, you know, I can lead you. I want to lead by example. I want to be a servant leader. I want to hear the resources. Let's go. But you know, you still have to take the leap. You still have to jump. You still have to return the form. You still have to do the email. You still have to give the permission slip. You still have to reach out. I can't read your mind because otherwise I'll be there. And they said, "Oh, she did a lot of work. Okay, now I can," as they say, kill the next person. Okay, because you're physically and mentally and emotionally potentially taking them down and taking them out. So you know, it's just a lot. So first off, let me just say I admire you both. You know, education is a calling. It was a calling to me because I just knew I was going to be high profile corporate America. No, my dad said, get a minor in education. Yeah, you're going to teach it. No. Okay, he was right. He and my heavenly father had my biological father and my heavenly father had a conversation and they won. They won. So that's one of the primary reasons why I wanted to have this educational summit because fortunately for me, I'm retired, but I needed to be able to give back as a community partner, as a business person who not only works with and partners with education, but really helps to striving to create opportunities for young people, take what I learned and go back and help and, you know, try to help to really bridge the gap. So, I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride. I'm going into year number 3, but it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. So I want to, I think I want to just switch gears just a little bit because I really want to, in this virtual digital space, and still being able to provide services for families. Sakia, what does that look like now? Okay, what is your, because every day we can't cover all 50 states, districts, and what everybody's doing, but based on what your district is doing in Montgomery, how are your services different? How are you servicing your communities a little bit different?
Okay, it's looking different every day. That's the honest, transparent answer. I want to kind of piggyback real quick on what LaTascha said when she said relationships. I think because that has been established with the majority of my families, we're fine because, you know, I'm, hey girl, hey Miss Dixon. I have to remind them I'm Miss Dixon, like she said, boundaries. But mine are fine. They're going just as business as usual, simply because right now, my caseload is not new. I'm dealing with kids I've dealt with in the past. It's going to be interesting. Have me back in a month so I can tell you what happens when we get new referrals, because I don't know, you know, this is my first time talking to you and I'm asking you personal questions and trying to figure out how to help you. I'm not quite sure, but I know what we have in place. We're going to use a platform called DoxyMe. We're also using Zoom, Loom, FaceTime, whatever we can, so that families can see us. And like Tasha said, people know if you're genuine.
Okay,
And
hold
so
on. Stop right there. What's Doxy Me?
DoxyMe is another program that's usually used by like therapists. It's an online free program, but it's confidential, and it is so neat. Like they log in, and when they log, I send them like a Zoom code, and when they log in, they tell me that so and so is in my waiting room, just like this, and I let them in, and it's confidential, supposedly.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I think
Okay.
another therapist that is a client of mine that talks about but I didn't know if that was the name of they probably popping up everywhere. But
They are
Doxy Me, DOXIE me.com.
DOXY.
Y
Mm-hmm.
me.com. Okay.
DoxyMe. Mm-hmm.
So that's another one because Zoom that's a whole nother session talking about
I know.
technology, but Zoom and the security issue. But okay, so Doxy Me. So think about that. Therapists, counselors, other people that have to have a look into that software to utilize because I know Zoom's had some breach issues. So see what that price point is and resource tool. Hello, we just we always have that. Okay, so that sounds like a wonderful I know I use through to have my virtual sessions with my doctor. They just kind of use the My Baptist Health or whatever. They had an interface that way. But Doxy Me sounds very, very interesting. So okay, so Tasha, I know that you all's system is in flux as well, but I've been in your school, so I know what it's like when somebody says, "I need a shirt, I need a pair of pants, do you have and I'm hungry. Can you give me a snack?" And so what does that look like now? What does that look like now?
Ooh, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that I am not concerned about that. Just because a lot of our students get what they need just from coming to school, and so that was a difficulty when we went to just going home and doing NTI, which is non-traditional instruction, last year. Mid-year. It was very concerning for some families simply because their children were used to getting breakfast and lunch at school. And they only had to provide for them one meal a day. And it seems like it would be one of those things where, well, you're their parent, you should have to do that. My resources are stretched so that, I depended on those two meals. And we all know that when kids are home, number one, they eat more because they're bored. They have, and especially if you're in a space where you can't go anywhere, your city is shut down and you have to socially distance yourself from others. And so, they eat more, they consume more. And if my resources were already stretched to the max, having all of my children home at the same time and having to do that, it overwhelms me as a parent. And so it is a concern that I had, last year and coming into this year, but the district has done a great job at providing food resources to communities that were food insecure. They had the opportunity to show up at different schools all over the city that were stationed all over the city and receive produce boxes where, and I've seen some of the produce boxes. They have like fresh fruits and vegetables in there, and they generally give them things that they can create an entire meal with. They also get, the lunch boxes that they would get after school if they stayed after our after school programs. Also, the state did something where they did a pandemic electronic benefits transfer, which is, you got the SNAP program because of the pandemic. So individuals who would not normally have access to food stamps were able to get that because their students went to a school that was categorically eligible for free and reduced lunch. And so they, there were families, it didn't matter what your income was. And, so they got $313.50 per child. And that was a huge help, to some families because, one family in particular that I can just comes to my mind all the time is just my family of 9. And, when people hear that, they're like, oh my gosh, they're an intact family. Mom, dad are in the home. They're married, always have been. All of their kids are together. And so dad works, and mom is, her job is to manage the family. And that's a huge job. They have phenomenal children, but that extra PEBT helped them tremendously, I'm sure, because now all of their children are home at the same time. And they're home all day long and you can't go out. So you have to create things for your children to do. And they're, that type of family. But then you have the families where, mom has to work and, so she's not home to cook. And it's just, those are things that maybe we don't necessarily think about when we're doing, the free and reduced lunches. Because somebody reminded me that, well, they are at schools, but what happens when they don't have transportation? And so the district did answer to some of that, putting it into neighborhood schools, but also having, organizations that volunteer to deliver those foods. So food insecurity is it is a real concern. And also, just supervision, because parents have to work. You have to work to keep a roof over your head. We can do a moratorium on eviction all we want to. As a mother, I'm not going to trust that you're not going to evict me. I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I have to do that. I would love to say that I could trust the system in, holding me and keeping me together. But as a mother, I can't wait for that, and so I did have that conversation with a couple of colleagues about just the extra money that you would get in unemployment. And so, some people had an idea that people were not going to work because they got more on unemployment. As a social worker, it just made me livid, honestly, because if you have ever been unemployed and you have a family to support, this is, and especially if you've never been unemployed until now and you're used to working, to depend on a system, and especially here where we are, we have an influx of cases that are backed up. There are families that applied for benefits in March and have not gotten a penny yet, and so no, you can't evict them. We're hoping, but I'm not in an apartment. I have a mortgage, what about those families? And if I'm used to working and having a certain amount of money, for someone to think that I would sit at home and wait on an extra, amount of money on top of my Social Security is offensive, and just, especially since, they're kicking around the idea of whether or not to do that again. So you have, a system that is playing with, our families and their stability. And then you have other individuals who serve those families that don't really believe in the service that they're providing to them. So that's just my concern. I worry about the mental health, of our children, the emotional health of them. Some of our children, I've checked in on are distant and, you're socially distant, but I don't think we have done a good job of teaching them that this is physical distance. Mm-hmm. You still have to be socially connected to someone. We were created
That's right.
to socialize with one another.
That's right.
You are physically distant, not socially distant. I think as parents, we have to be cognizant of your child being in their room all day long, and not interacting with anyone, because that is it leads to difficulty in reacclimating yourself when you get back to school. Right. We don't see that as an issue because this has never happened before, but there are so many things that are coming out of this pandemic that we never imagined.
No, you're right. Right.
Even as it just amazes me, but I do pray about it, and I do keep in touch with my families and make sure that I'm connected to them and they understand that I am connected to them. Your mental health is important to me. And so business and office hours, yes, those are, respectful boundaries, but if you really, really need something, I need you to get in touch with me.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
And we thank you for that. And we appreciate that. And we know that, we thank you for the extra time and the extra everything that you have put in and Sakia's put in, because it's not a 9 to 5 type thing. You do take it with you, do carry it with you. So I have Dr. Tamara Bowles, who is in the Zoom room with us tonight. She'll be on Friday night as well. So just giving you all a heads up, Dr. Tamara Bowles is going to be talking about the future of education. But she stopped by, she has a question. Has there been an increase in resource partners? Have the businesses been able to take a stand or come in and help? And of course, we know about the potential for the abuse increase or nutritional issues, which LaTascha spoke about. But have you had resource partners, business partners that have stepped up to strive to help bridge the gap?
I truly have. I can speak for where we are in Montgomery. Actually, like I said, as Tasha talked, Julie, you're talking to one and the same. I would think it'd be a lot of differences, but it's a lot of the same issues that we're seeing there as well as here. And I love that, she commented on the transportation, the food shortage, the clothing, all of that. But I can say, people have come forward and all types of organizations have come forward and said, what can we do to assist? Because at one point, I understand you all are virtual. At one point, we were going face to face. Up until about 2 weeks ago, the plan was for our children to return to the schools in uniforms and masks and PPE, and let's make it happen. But they made a change. So at that point, it looks like the community rallied together. We had so many school supplies, and we are so thankful of what we did. But I wanted to explain when she said how COVID has changed things. Usually we always give out school supplies and uniforms. If we require it, we will help them, with those who need. Well, that required them filling out the paperwork, coming into the office. Well, guess what? We can't do that now. Mm-hmm. So we have organized a whole assembly line. I said we did better than Chick-fil-A, y'all. And they do real good. But we
handling business.
Yeah.
Because they do well. Yeah. We had them coming in and we were signing out and giving them the supplies, because that's the other piece. Like Tasha said, a lot of families depend on school for so much more than education. Yeah. And I hear the conversation that, our job is to educate. Well, you know what? Education is in every area. And so there are some things that we have to teach our kids, and they get it in that environment. Mm-hmm. And, she talked about her fear. My fear, honestly, was about the supervision piece. I was very concerned about what she said. Our families have to work, plain and simple. And when we look at the poverty level and the different things that people need, when they make decisions, or even me sometimes, Julia, it's not a decision about what's the good and what's the bad. It's what's the better. What's the one that I can kind of live with today? And I'll deal with the other decision tomorrow. So those are the things that we're facing. And our kids and our families, they're trying to figure it out day by day. With us doing virtual, we're hoping they have supervision, and then even with the food, we have pickups with them to come pick up their food. I think one day on Monday, they'll get 2 meals. On Wednesday, they'll get 5 meals. Sounds great. But what if they can't get there to pick up that?
But what happens Tuesday? You got Monday and Tuesday meal, but then what if they don't get there to Monday? Then they don't get the Wednesday, and so we hungry Monday and Tuesday? Yeah.
We have it available, but then it's the transportation piece, and the piece that if you're not doing what Tasha and I do are not as knowledgeable and insightful as you are, people don't realize it's not as simple as just to get in the car sometimes.
No.
Bus, and I walked and I caught a ride.
Yeah.
Or my $5 that I did have, I paid somebody to bring me over here, So these are the things that, that we're faced with. And I just don't, I'm like Tasha, I worry. That's why we say our babies. I worry. I pray. Mm-hmm. I pray a whole lot. And then, I say my job, I call our job, we plant seeds, Julia. I said we plant seeds. We may not see what happens, but we just continue to keep putting it in there, and we pray that what we've put in, when they go somewhere else, they'll water it and it'll get better and they'll finally bloom at some point, because there are a lot of things that people are facing. And we just can only acknowledge what we are aware of as well. Some stuff we don't even know about. And I did want to say this really quickly. Tasha mentioned mental health. That is a big focus of mine, of my district. I started off kind of doing, as she said, I was like a broker. I was helping with basic necessities. Well, in the last 4 to 5 years, everything is mental health related. And that's my concern as well, because services are far few and in between. And we're trying to meet that need as well as all the other ones.
It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. I think even the rude awakening for the food issue came. I always monitored a bus in the afternoon. I was all I stood there, made sure all the kids was on, sit down, whatever. And this one little boy he was flying, and I was trying to stop him from from running or whatever. And oh my God, I cried. The principal cried. Everybody cried, because when I got I had the backpack like, slow down. It ripped open, and the breakfast from that day spilled out on the ground. He cried, I cried, the principal cried, we all cried. And that's when we knew we had to have partners come in to do the blessings in a backpack. Because I said, that's that breakfast. He was supposed to have it this morning. So he was saving that breakfast for later. She said, that's enough, I'm done. When that cereal flew out all over the side of the sidewalk, if you busy taking stuff and you get permission slips or whatever you're doing, you're not realizing that baby is not eating the breakfast. They have snuck to the backpack and put it inside the backpack to eat later. And talk about that was there was a rude, a vast awakening. And you cannot, like Tasha said, you cannot stereotype the families and say, oh, they must. No, there could be two parents at home. No, they could both be working. No, you cannot. It's not a stereotype. So I'm hoping that people who watch the replay of this, share this, understand that we're not talking about people who are not trying, not striving. Every community is different. Every qualifications for job skills are different. Even if they have high job skills, there may be job availability. That's, then you got to manage all, it's like putting plates in the air. How am I going to get my babies home if I take a second? Who's going to watch them? That's a lot for parents. And of course, I had that major awakening of when I saw that cereal on that ground. I was like, oh Lord, he cried, but he had to run to get on the boat. That was just an overwhelming. I was concerned about that all the way home to realize, okay, he might have eaten lunch when he was saving the breakfast to maybe have the next morning, or maybe that was dinner. I really encourage us to figure out, if you are a small business or even a large corporation, or you're associated with it, if you know a foundation that can either partner one school, partner with 10 schools, I don't care if you're in Alabama, wherever you're at, to contact them to see how you can help. What can you do? What can you donate? What can you assist with? What can you do? I had to put this plug in just right here while we're talking about it. So over COVID, the March, I established the BK Royston Foundation. So the BK Royston Foundation, I haven't really done a major rollout of it or anything, but I'll just put the plug in right here. So we're doing books. Well, because of the situation of how we're going to do it, we've had to partner with people. I'm green right out the box. So, look on my page, because if you're in the area, you'll be able to come and participate. So I'm giving away books. There's just all kinds of organizations that are linking together because of the way COVID is. They're not having the community 10 to 15. And I know Tasha used to share it, and I used to share it on my page. This is where you get school supplies. This is where you get backpacks. This is where you go. Well, they're not able to do that because of the safety issue. So as nonprofits and partners, we were on a call not too long ago. All right, what are we going to do? What do we need? And what do we bring? And then when they're gone, they're gone. But we've got to feel like we're going to do something. You got to do it safely. Yes, partner with schools to do it safely, even if you have to drop off and they do another drive-through some other kind of way. But we can't just say, oh, well, it's COVID, we can't do nothing. I just couldn't do that. I wanted to be able to have that atmosphere. We're going to do it safely. It'll be posted. Look for it on my page. But it's the whole point of we can't just hashtag we're in this together.
Right.
We've got to do
to
it
be
to be in together. I mean, you know, you have to put that into action and
put your money where your mouth is.
exactly.
Where your
But
mouth
like I
is,
said,
put some
Tasha,
money there.
walk it like you talk it. You know, if you want to talk it, you better walk
Listen, my whole tagline is I don't turn down anything but my collar. You gonna give it to me? I promise you I can find somebody who needs it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't play with Miss Craig. Don't play with Miss Craig.
Don't turn down anything.
Okay. So I got to get to this because my time is going because we could be on a whole nother hour. So Dr. Bowles also put in the chat. So what are we going moving forward? So we need all hands on deck. We've determined that. We got boundaries. We know we can meet in the digital space. Dr. Yvette Thomason's in the chat as well, and she mentioned using DoxyMe in the Maryland area school district. So that DoxyMe is, put that down. If you haven't ever used it, counselors, others, use that. So where are we moving forward in you all specific area? Because all the rest of it, I mean, it's a whole thing. That's the reason why we own for a solid week, because there's just so many pieces to this puzzle. There's so many pieces to this pie. So you all's areas. So what moving forward, what realistically can we do?
I think for me, the answer would be patient, be open, be flexible. And I just think that it's a matter of recognizing that there's a need and being willing to figure out how we can meet that need. I mean, and we're going to have to think outside the box. We're no longer can, pick up and call this agency that quickly and they'll run over there. We're going to have to figure it out. And I think each day, I'm sure Tasha can speak for it, each day, Julia, we're just taking it one step at a time. And I did, at your request, I actually wrote down some advice I had for students. So I want to share, if that's okay to share that.
Right go right ahead.
Okay, I put, don't worry, this too shall pass. And I just want to tell them that the new normal is coming. Respect your teachers, peers, and everything. Remember, you're still in school. So it's like whatever that kids had to do when they were in school, it's important they still do it. If you had a bedtime, keep your bedtime. If you need to have a set space to do your work in that set space. And that's for parents too. Make sure your child has that, what they need to be successful. Ask for help, I put, and this was one I'm using for even my child. If at home, go outside, get fresh air. I think Tasha put it best. What did you say, Tasha? You said
physical. We're physically distant, but we should not be socially distant.
Exactly. And now this is one of my favorite ones, you guys. I'm telling kids to journal and record your thoughts about this season.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you because nobody here alive right now has been through a pandemic. So imagine the stories and the information that they will have to share later, how they made it through. I'm a positive Patty all the time. I have to be, because as Tasha can tell you, we see too much negativity. Yeah. So we have to look at the brighter side. And my biggest concern about our babies is that they are coming back one day. So I'm hoping that we are, as parents, as community leaders, whomever is around them, continuing to tell them what's expected, because it's not going to be the same normal. Washing the hands, wearing the mask, I don't know how long that's going to be around. But if you're at home, we're not practicing that, Yeah. So wear your mask sometimes while you're sitting at home. Do things of that sort and get prepared for what it's going to be like when you enter back into that setting. Yeah. So that's kind of my advice for my students. And like I said, I'm really on Julia, take it one day at a time.
Yeah, you're right. Tasha, you want to add something?
So the question was, what does it look like moving forward for us, or what now? And just to say to that, I always, I love my kids, I love my babies, I love my teenagers, all of that. But I always tell people that they can only be as aware, as the environment that they come from. And we are all responsible for that environment. I need parents to begin to look at the world globally as a village. Wherever you invest your child is what you're going to get back. The whole reason why I work as hard as I do for the kids that I serve at school is because I pray that someone will invest in my children like that. because just because I've gone to school and gotten credentials or what have you does not erase my humanity. And there is nothing that my degrees could do for me with one good illness, and so I would be on my back and dependent on other people. So whatever I have done, I want that to, that to be reaped upon their head. So that's why I work as hard as I do. In addition to, it being my complete ministry. And that's why Imagine Me Rising, is what it is, because it's an investment company in our greatest resource that we've gotten away from. Everything is about money. You want Bitcoin, you want to do Acorns, they got all kind of coins you can get. You can buy you some silver and some gold. No one is investing in our children like they used to. No one. And you can tell that just by walking around neighborhoods. Kids are just left to kind of their own recognizance. So my thing is to invest in human beings, personally, getting back to the village, really checking people like, hey, did you really thought it was a good idea to do that? And not just the kid, but the parent. Because I've had parents, who come in the building and a lot of times they are, the victims of bias against them, and that is true. And so they come in and they're fired up, because you have done something to offend them, believing that they don't love their children because of whatever your bias was against them. But people, parents love their children. I don't, and it doesn't always have to agree with what you think it ought to be, but that doesn't negate the fact that they love their children. And so moving forward as educators, as, professionals, teachers, social workers, administrators, all of us, we have to begin to invest in the entire, that if we're investing in the entire child, then we have to reach out to that family. Those relationships are going to be important. You're going to have to over communicate. You can't just tell it to them once. You can't assume that they read the email or that they've gotten the paper out of the mailbox. Over communicate, because we care about them. And that investment in them is not going to, it's not going to cost you anything. In fact, it's your job.
Yeah.
It can cost you everything, because when we don't invest in them, we get the opposite effect where they're not educated. And so they're out here doing things they shouldn't be doing. If you really care about the economy, then try it on with, a bunch of people taking things that you worked hard for.
Yeah. The survival mode. That's what I call it. That's survival mode. Yeah, we've seen that. We know what that looks like. Yeah.
It looked like the little boy putting the cereal in his backpack.
Yes.
It looked like, I don't know if I'm going to eat tonight. I don't know if I'm going to have some food. I'm smart enough and resilient enough to say, you know what, I'm going to take a little bite of this banana right here. I'm going to eat that. It'll get me through to lunch. And I'm going to put this cereal in my backpack because I can have something to eat tonight. And not because my mother doesn't care about me.
No.
Maybe because she's at work.
Yes.
And it could be, we automatically assume when, children don't have two parents in the home that it's because mama didn't do what she was supposed to do or daddy didn't do. You don't know if they're deceased. You don't know if, they're ill, if they're away at war. You don't know. So we have to begin to check those things at the door. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is what's standing in front of you. Your responsibility to invest in that child and make sure that they get everything that they need, period.
Yeah.
And so
I'm sorry, Tasha. I wanted to say, because it's so good. I'm loving listening to you. I'm soaking it up as well, because like I said, I don't get to have these kind of conversations so often. Yeah. But you said something that's so important, and I want people to leave from this knowing people, whomever they are, for the most part, are doing the best that they can.
Yes.
The other piece, for the most part, they are sending us the best that they have. They don't send us their favorite child. They send it all the best. They send the best that they have. And so we are supposed to respond to them in that way. And I love Tasha. She brought it up. We look at things from a strengths perspective. When she said, he's resourceful. He knew what he had to do to make sure. It's not because he comes from a bad family or a bad home. So it's our job, when you talk about school social workers, we are constantly dispelling those myths. We're constantly saying, nah, get that out of your head. That's not what's really going on. And then Tasha made another good point. She said, we are the village, everybody. We have to learn that it's okay to challenge appropriately. Like you said, was that a good idea? Because the thing is, Julia, sometimes if you're dealing with that small little knit community, you don't have those people asking those questions. No. You don't know. You don't know. And so it's our job. That's why I say, yeah, we social workers, we're educators. We have to teach these things that they may not know, so that we can be confident in our future. Because like you said, the economy, those kids are gonna take care of us when we're older.
Absolutely.
So those little things that we have to make sure we're investing in them. So I want to go back to the question, like Tasha said, where do we move from here, Julia? I can tell you this. Me and Tasha, we have job security. We good.
Honey.
Yes, you good.
As long as we breathing.
And all I'm doing is praying. I'm praying for both of you.
As long as we're breathing, we are good, because we know as long as we're here, we're going to have those social ills. We know that. But we can do a little bit each day to make it better. And if it's nothing but things like this, conversations, because what we are doing, y'all, and I know you know it, Julia, because you thought it up, we're opening up minds.
Yeah.
We're helping people be able to see that it's more than just what you see in front of you. There's everybody has a story.
Yes.
It's their personal story, and it's important to them, and it has affected them. And so we should all be respectful of that.
Yes. And it's an eye-opening experience.
Absolutely.
When you're made aware, and honestly, coming from 10 years in a private all-girls Catholic school, of course, predominantly majority of them, their parents are able to pay for their education because it's private school. So when you move from private school to Title I, 94% free or reduced lunch, elementary school, K through 5, pre-K and Head Start was there too, and an autism unit. You talk about culture shock. You're talking about, fortunately, I might have thought it, but fortunately I didn't say everything out of my mouth I thought, because I would have been in trouble all the time, because I would have been making assumptions and prejudices against children. I used to tell people all the time, now, my building is not about, this race has more than that race, and that race. Boo, when you get 94% free and reduced, boo, boo, everybody, the playing field is leveled, boo. So we're not talking about everybody's on the same level, regardless of background, regardless, the little girl who told me, oh my God, Miss Rosen, I'm so excited. We're moving to a double wide trailer. Okay, so I'm used to house, projects, apartments, condos. And I said, oh, are you excited about it? Yes, I'm excited. We're getting ready to move to a double wide trailer. And I said, oh, but I came from a 4-bedroom, and I'm thinking, so I had to freeze and not say a double wide trailer, because that would have shown my prejudice. She was so excited. I'll have my own room, and I'll be able to put up my poster. And I'm like, yay, that's so great. And I thought, oh, but we don't know where she was living.
Julia, me and Tasha would have been like, yeah.
I had to freeze going, are you excited about that? She goes, yes. And I said, yeah. So I had to get excited with her, but I had to freeze a minute, because I didn't know if she was coming from a 4-bedroom house to a double wide trailer.
Right.
Or was she coming from the homeless shelter to a double wide trailer? It was
absolutely.
I was dumb. I was ignorant. I might have been a teacher, but I had to get myself together to figure out, where I was, and it was a lot. But so educators have a lot. I think that's the reason why the big revolt was against educators that came the last couple years have been like, do you know what we go through? Do you really understand what it takes to teach in this society every single day, with every type of child, every type of background, every type of home life, every kind of, and then now you all who are meeting these other needs, like underwear, socks.
Yeah.
I had the little boy who I could talk all day, but we were sitting, I was a computer teacher, so we're sitting at the computer lab. He bends his feet up, and his sole of his shoe is on the floor. So his foot is up here like this, but his sole of his shoe is down there. So his sock, I said, oh, he needs shoes. Okay. So, and the one teacher said, I'll buy one pair, and I don't have any kids, so I always used to help with other people's kids. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy one pair, you buy one pair. And so we went to the family resource coordinator, gave her the money. She went and found out how much, what the size of the baby shoe was. Because I'm like, It's not a matter. We don't need to fundraise. She needs shoes. When you put your foot up and the sole is on the floor and your foot is here and I can see your white, well, yeah, dingy sock through there. I'm like, it's not a matter of who. Okay, she heard me and said, okay, what are we gonna do about so and so? His shoe is about to come off. And the other teacher heard it and said, okay, I got one pair, you get one pair too. And so it's those kinds of things that are like, oh my goodness. Okay, I got one more thing to go because we got about 7 minutes. Let me see if anybody has any questions. Oh wow, this has been so awesome. I love it. Yes, it's a praise report. Oh yeah. Yeah, Dr. Yvette said that's a praise report. I said exactly. And she said, and glasses, and yes, and undershirts, and you know, just the whole 9 yards. And oh gosh, you know.
Because we haven't talked about the child who, you know, the teacher is upset about them coming to school without socks on. They don't have on any socks. And, you know, you bring them down there and you're fussing about them not having on socks. And I get to the point of it all. He didn't wear socks because he couldn't, if he put on socks, he couldn't fit his shoes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, and then when I went to size him, because I did have shoes, when I went to size him, his shoes were 3 sizes too small.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he should have had shoes 2 years ago.
Yes.
And, you know, as a social worker, though, we know that when you buy the next pair of shoes, you buy it a half size up because he may not get it.
He may not, yeah.
So I'd rather
we had a program for the shoes, but oh my gosh, he was on that list, but his foot had outgrown. So, he's not on the list. I was like, bump the list. Wait a minute.
Honey, they always on the list.
Bump the list. I got to look at this child.
Always on the list.
I was like, what bump the list? And of course, then another teacher overheard. She's like, okay, I got one shoe, one pair, you got the other pair. I was like, yeah, because he's in 5th grade. He's just growing out of his whole body's growing out of his clothes. And he did have 2 parents in his home. They both worked. They were just like, thank you. They were grateful and appreciative. So it wasn't that stereotype of, it wasn't the drugs.
Yeah, I sent him with my best.
It was just, we're trying to live here. We're just trying to live. We're just trying to survive.
Yeah. I sent him with my best, and I don't have grandma and grandpa to help me out.
Exactly.
You know, I don't have anybody at church flipping me some money.
Have you all heard the poem, I Ain't Got No Pencil? I know you probably have, Tasha. Julie, you familiar?
No, it sounds familiar though.
I'm going to find it though, because I want to post it on your page.
Please
because
do.
I think it kind of sums up everything we're saying. You all started talking about clothes and things like that, but even the basics, kids don't come with pencils sometimes.
Oh, they don't come with nothing. They just come with them.
Right. They just come. And we have, and I don't, like I said, I'm an educator too. So we have those upset and saying, you're not doing this. But when you have so many other things that you had to face just to walk into that door, people can't be important. So I want to share that on your page because I think it's another part of saying, y'all, this is what we're really dealing with.
Yeah, because I've done it. I've stood in the office and because you teach everybody, you know when somebody's new, you're like, okay, they knew, but they didn't have a uniform. Oh, they don't have a backpack. They just got off the bus. So, you know, you start sending signals. Okay, we got somebody new. Get the counselor. Go get family resource. Is she here? Or is she in that other building? Okay. You know, you start alert as an itinerant. You can immediately start alerting quicker than you can because we move about the building. Okay. So last thing, first off, I want Sakia to, you know, I'm the publisher lady. So I always want before we go, we gotta talk about books just a little bit, about 5 minutes. So, Sakia, go ahead and start. She got her book. Yay! Okay, so you know, Positive Patty, that's Sakia. So I want you to tell them about your book real fast.
Yes, I am so thankful. This was a gift from God with the information, and then he connected me to Julia through my friend Vernette, and life is wonderful. But I wrote Songs of My Heart and Tales from My Soul, and this is a 30-day devotional. But when I tell you it is truthfully lyrics from my heart, is conversations that I've had with God. When you say, how do you cope? One entry here I was thinking about, we were talking about, I called it, I gave it up to God. And it's about, how do you deal with this? I gave it up. I said, I'm tired of these folks with their problems. I'm tired of me trying to fix them. I'm tired. And finally I heard the Lord say, give it to me. I got it. And so in that, this is what this book is about. It is a devotional of courage, of hope, of celebration for victories. And the biggest part I love, a reminder through it all that you are loved. That means me, Tasha, you, everybody.
Yeah.
God loves. And
Yeah.
so that is my devotional.
Yeah. So how can people get it?
Okay, so you can get it through Amazon. You also can get it through me, through my I'm working on a website and Julie's gonna help me. We're gonna get that together. But in the meantime, you can find me on Facebook or the Dixon Diaries 2020, and I will direct you that way. I want you all, if you can, to get it from me because I am so enjoying signing. My mama had to tell me, Julia, she said, Sakia, you just sign, you don't write them a whole nother book. But
I love it.
I really truthfully enjoy writing, and I love speaking from my heart, and I feel like this project has done that. So thank you.
You're welcome. So Dixon Diaries 2020 at gmail.com. Right?
Dixon
Okay.
Diaries.
Dixon Diaries 2020 at gmail.com. She will connect you. It was a real privilege doing publishing that book. We had all kinds of tweaks, and she wanted it a certain way, and I love it because the knowing exactly what you want is really something that I really, really love. Send me down the direction, okay? I know. Nope, I don't like that. Yep, I do like that. Nope, I don't like that. Yeah, I do like. Yeah, that's it. Ooh, Julia, you did it. It was like,
all of our secrets, because that's how it was for us. It was a road trip, Tasha. It was a road trip, but that's why we're such good friends now, right, Julia?
Oh yeah. Renette says I have to come back. You have to come back to Montgomery. You have to. I was like, y'all get that coronavirus out of here. I know. We love you. We call it a road trip. Okay, so Miss LaTascha Craig, we have book 1, which is World Changers. But I tell you what's coming down the pike next is My Life Matters. So tell them the story, LaTascha. What happened?
Oh Lord. So Julia is after me constantly about getting on to what I'm supposed to be doing in terms of writing. I write from my life. So I never really saw it as one of those things that you would share with other people. But then Julia came. God sent Julia. And not that we haven't had a relationship prior to this, but I mean, he pronounced her real loud this time. He got through my child. And so my son did a project with in middle school with his school with Julia, and he became a published author. And so then after that, I was like, well, what do I need to do, to make sure that this keeps on? Because what I'm looking at is, he can do this thing. If Josiah can do this again, then, we can fund some college education. Let's see what we're doing, and I'm really trying to get him as a young man to, really take hold of multiple streams of income and creating your own wealth. Which are things that, was kind of held back, that have been held back from young Black girls who are gifted and talented, because I've been writing forever. So then we get to World Changers at my elementary school, and the parents were over the moon. And now we have, we've moved on to My Life Matters. And so Julia had a conversation with me about wanting to do a book on My Life Matters, and we need some kids that, we got Black Lives Matters, but, and then it's not a but it's an and we understand that movement, and it's very relevant, and we're a part of it, and it's, but I want, we wanted to kind of move it toward kids taking ownership of their own lives, even in the midst of all the turmoil that's going on. So she was telling me about this, and I'm thinking, I already, I'm in the mood and grow, and I already had the kids picked out, contacted them, their parents were like, absolutely. Because I'm very strategic about the parents that I connected with, because in this book, once it's published, and it's coming up soon, we will be able to market that to parents who are struggling as parents, to help them to see what investment in your children turns out to be. Because a lot of times it's not that parents don't want to invest in their kids, they don't know how, and they don't know to. If I am 15 when I have a child, I've only had 15 years of experience and wisdom. That's all I got to give to my child. And so when they turn 15, I'm 30. It's time for me to live my life. Still though, my life as a parent started at 15. It doesn't matter that I grew to 30 as an adult. I'm still stuck. You know, all of that thing that came with being a parent at 15 is still there. And so that's where I'm stuck a lot of times. And so you get to your parents who are 30 and they come to school and they popping their necks and slapping and carrying on. And I love it. I'm telling you, I wait on it. I wait. Come on over here, honey. Let me talk to you. You know, let me talk to you. Let me tell you something. You cannot be jumping up on people. You got to be in this building. You know what I'm saying? You come in here popping and carrying on and hollering and screaming. What they're going to do is pick up the phone and security and the police are coming and then you can't come back in the building. Right. And what you don't want to do is not be able to come in a building that has your greatest love in it. Yeah. You got to be able to come in here. You know, and so you pop and carry on, but do that at home and do not do it in front of your child because you are going to send them in this building with an educator, a teacher that's responsible for them every single day. They cannot be disrespectful to that person. You mad at her, your child shouldn't know anything about that, you know, and so it's just having those parents who are, you know, invested in this project, being able to move forward when we're moving on to new projects, to be able to invest backward. You know, and so, and reach back, and because I'm determined that we as a race are going to get back to where we're supposed to be. We're going to get back to knowing who we are.
Yeah.
We're going to get back to it. We're going to know who we are. I'm determined, and I'm starting with my own children, you know, and my grandparents who raised me started with me. But we don't know who we are. When they tell you you can't do math and science and you shouldn't major in this and that, no, we built the pyramids in Africa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Embalming came through us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Scientists, doctors, lawyers. Yeah, we wrote the books. Who can teach themselves how to read a language that wasn't meant for them to read?
Yeah.
No, you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And so it's just that investment backwards. And so this, My Life Matters, is our investment backward book. So the kids are going to tell you how their life matters. And then their parents and them, they're going to move forward with that. And we build it to them as, this is your child's investment plan. They're going to pay for college.
Yeah.
Life is a business deal, baby. You only get out of it what you put into it.
Now you know why I called Tasha, right? Now y'all know why I called Tasha, right?
Tasha, tell me real quick what the other book was about, though.
World Changers. Are you talking about World Changers?
Yes.
Okay, so World Changers was a conglomerate of stories from the kids. The whole program, though, was built off of Newburgh Middle School did a book with my son, and I loved it. When I went to move forward with that, with the agency that sponsored that, I was told that, you know, the publisher doesn't normally work with elementary school kids because that was a middle school. And I was like, you know, so when I talked to the publisher on my own, she was like, no. Actually, I do. You know, I've been an educator in elementary school for a while. I said, well, can we sit down and talk about it? You know, because I'll make $1 out of 15 cents. We're going to make this happen. I'll fundraise, I'll pull a rabbit out of my hat, whatever we need to do. I need my children at this elementary school level to understand writing for their life, because there is a deficit. You know, there's a deficit in the reading, and so there's going to be a deficit in the writing. You know, they write like they text. So World Changers was a way to get them engaged in that process of writing. So we walked them through the entire writing process all the way to publishing. We had a phenomenal time. We had a red carpet rollout, you know, book signing, and it was phenomenal, and the kids loved it. And so World Changers was just them presenting their story to the world about how they see the world changing, you know, and how they are going to be a part of changing the world.
And it was a lot of
different stories.
Very different. Fictional, but very, you know, we had the fantasy fiction, you know, real life fiction. They sent their minds there.
They don't imagine anymore.
Yeah, but they did. These babies imagine, honey. They took it to the next level.
That's what I told them. Come on outside of the box. You know, you want to write.
They did it. But it was a writing collaboration too, because some of that, you know, writing in school is so structured. Yes. We've got to present. We've got to move to get these pieces done for a portfolio and all that, which I understand that. But that whole free writing, out the box writing, and, you know, guidance writing. So I did sessions with them. So I came to the school after school, and we had like a writing workshop and a writing good group. So It was a wonderful experience for me. It got me back in the building, and it was a really good experience. Now,
My kids
My
got to
Life
learn.
Matters.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. Look for that in the next. We got to do the photo shoot the upcoming week. Yeah, about 3 weeks.
Yeah, we got a photo shoot this weekend.
Yeah, so the photo shoot's coming up, so we'll be good together and we'll be good to go. And then also too, this is our time capsule legacy. Building. I mean, 2020 is one of those years that we're never going to forget.
That's right.
I mean, and some things are going to be monumental and associated with this time and this season here. And I feel like we need to make a mark and make a statement and say something and leave something behind. It needs to be a legacy mark. I have a children's book coming up about the same time. I'm going to roll it out in the next couple of weeks. And it's the same thing. It talks about the mass, the injustice, the marches, the protests. And it doesn't say it specifically, but you get it, behind the scenes. So the images are there. And this is my first one. I'm translating in Spanish and French. So it'll be available in English, French, and Spanish. Yay! I was uploading it to,
I was saying, I think you should be getting a call probably in a week or so about how to get started on a book from someone. It's called it's called Dixon Diaries.
Dixon Diaries. Girl, don't let
I'm done. Move on. I'm just saying.
She feels real special. Her son is gonna have published 3 books, right? Okay. She's gonna be in 3 books, and she's like, "Hey, I'm a veteran in the."
But he came through my wounds.
That's right. That's right. You claimed it.
Okay, we're gonna have to jump off here because they be like, okay, they done took it to the next level. So first off, I want to make sure that everybody makes sure that they begin following Sakia Dixon and LaTascha Craig. Please find them on social media, period, and follow them, as well as continue to be with us. We've got 2 more days of the Educational Summit 2020. This has been a pleasure for me to present these wonderful educators. Now, tomorrow night is a major night. I have 3 gentlemen on who are going to be on with me tomorrow. Mr. Robert Gunn, who is local to the Louisville area. He is the principal of the all-boys school and here in Louisville, as well as Mr. Desmond Williams, who is in DC, and then Mr. Alfred Brinkley. I think that's Alabama coming through again. Okay. I think so. Dr. Alfred Brinkley will be on with us. So join us tomorrow. If you have access to birth a Black boy, that's what we're talking about on August 13th, 2020. That was always my not biggest, greatest challenge, greatest love. The Black boys in the building would send you there. They take you there. So they have a great specialty. Of course, they're African American males, but they also have a special gift for helping us understand the African American boys. So join us. And then on Friday night, the Future of Education, August 14th, with Dr. Tamara Bold and Dr. Yvette Thomason. And scheduled is Dr. Sharon Hunter. So I look forward to us continuing this conversation. Be sure and continue to follow me and all that's coming down the pipe when we roll out these next books and everybody else's books, and look for what's the name of the poem again? I lost my pencil.
Yes, I'm gonna put it on there tonight.
Okay, I lost my pencil.
That's the really nice one. It's I ain't got no pencil, but
I ain't got no pencil. I'm sorry, I ain't got no pencil. That sounds like the first year of busing. That's what the babies just got off the bus. Oh my Lord, with nothing, just them. And, woo! I ain't got, and that's what they said. I ain't got no pencil. I didn't bring no paper. I don't got nothing. Just me and my coach. And I'm like, wow.
Because what I really want to do is go back to my neighborhood and go to school.
Yes, to my other school where the teacher looked like me, and it's my neighborhood. I could walk there, and I don't want to ride the bus for 2 hours. And they were angry. They got off that bus mad furious.
Amen.
Because I'm like, ooh, I mean, what if you had to go to the bathroom on that 2-hour bus ride? You know, I just shut
I
up.
lived in my same house from birth until I moved out after college.
Wow.
And I went to 4 elementary schools. 4. Yeah,
Wow.
busing.
Oh, I didn't experience that, love. I was already in the county school, so I only went to Middletown, Crosby, Eastern. I went to the area schools that I was supposed to go to, and the bus stop was at our house. And so you can imagine I had a big old red X mark on me. They were like, get her, get her. She don't come over downtown, feed her. That was my life. So, school was.
Well, I'll tell you what, my grandparents raised me and they were at every open house.
Oh yeah, my mama was PTA.
Every orientation.
Yeah, oh yeah. PTA, my mama was on PTA.
Out to the next county.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that whole, that's why I wrote the book Granny, Grandpa, and Me, because I saw an influx of grandparents raising kids. Okay, I got to stop here. I love you. Stay put, don't move. You all have a great rest of the evening. I'm Julia Royston. Live your best life today, tomorrow, and always. Let's stay in this together. We can make it. These are great resources. Help is on the way. We're going to breathe in and out. We're going to stay focused and keep moving and keep working. Love you all. Have a great day.